Let me tell you a funny thing about nature. Just when you think it is all the same forests, the same mountains, the same oceans, the same leaves and the same trees in those forests, there is always something different that pops out from the crook of a tree or from beneath the shade of a leaf. Every forest has a different tale that it wishes to narrate, and every leaf carries a new story. When we stepped into the Rifle Range Nature Park, we thought we were on a much read page of an old book. But then, as we moved ahead, every turn unfolded a new drama, and every step spoke a new dialogue that intrigued us to delve deeper into the wilderness. And we walked on in search of that elusive answer to the mysteries of nature. The Rifle Range Nature Park is part of a large network of nature parks that borders a nature reserve and comprises around 7 kilometers of good, hearty trails. Wait a minute, nature park, nature reserves, aren't they the same? Well, not quite. You see, Singapore has 24 nature areas that are identified as places with a rich biodiversity and represent some significant indigenous systems. And these include the coastal hill forests, the freshwater swamp forests, mangrove forests, and even secondary forests that have regenerated after human abandonment. Now, out of these 24 nature areas, 4 have been classified as nature reserves, which, as per the National Park Board website, quote unquote, are the primary providers of ecosystem services, helping to clean the air and water, and are home to native flora and fauna, some of which are rare and endangered species. Now, these 4 nature reserves are the Central Catchment Nature Reserve, Bukit Timah Nature Reserve, Sungai Buloh Nature Reserve, and the Labrador Nature Reserve. Now, bordering these nature reserves, a green buffer zone has been created that helps to act as a protective shield for the endangered flora and fauna within these natural reserves from the impact of urbanization. And these buffer zones are known as the nature parks. Now, these nature parks are connected through a network to protect them from urbanization. Now, there are 3 nature park networks, which are Central Nature Park Network, the Sungai Buloh Network, and the Labrador Nature Park Reserves and Southern Ridges. So, this Rifle Range Nature Park is part of the Central Nature Park Network, which borders the Central Catchment Nature Reserve and the Bukit Timah Nature Reserve. You can visit the nparks.gov.sg website to know more about Singapore Nature Park. The Rifle Range Nature Park can be accessed by a short walk from the rail corridor or directly from the Beauty World Centre. And you need to get off at Beauty World MRT or even through a short hike or run from the McVitie Reservoir. We strolled down from the rail corridor after visiting the Bukit Timah railway station. Do visit our video on the Bukit Timah railway station to know more about our time spent there. We entered the Rifle Range Nature Park through the Rambai entrance. The boardwalk takes you right up to the Rambai hut, a resting spot where you get to check out the maps to get your bearings correct. While there, something made me think of Hansel and Gretel. You remember the Grimm's fairy tale where 2 little kids get lost in the forest? They scatter breadcrumbs to find their way back. Unfortunately, the birds eat all of that up, and the poor kids lose their way and end up in a witch's hut. Now, I wish the story could have been based in Singapore, because this place does not leave one waiting for directions. It is all there printed in bright, colorful signboards, maps, and information plaques. Thanks to the ample use of pointers, even in the wilderness, it is almost impossible to lose your way. Unlike the unfortunate kids, we did not need breadcrumbs and were right on track and landed just where we wanted to be. That is, the Quarry Wetlands. The Rifle Range Nature Park is located at the site of the Sin Seng Granite Quarry. The quarries form an essential part of Singapore's history. Since the 19th century, several quarries for mining granites had been developed to act as a major provider and contributor in Singapore's development industry. In 1970, most of Singapore's public housing and road development activity was fueled by these quarries. However, they are no longer functional since 1991. Nevertheless, they still continue to exist as a primary landmark next to the shopping malls, highlighting the colourful contrast in Singapore's landscape. In 1998, the Sin Seng Granite Quarry had closed down. And guess what happened? Okay, so now this is another good thing about nature. When human activity ceases in a place and it tends to become abandoned, nature rushes in to take back what it once owned. As extraction activities stopped, rainwater filled up the quarry and the forest slowly crept back around it, helping it to revert to the lush wilderness that it once was. Today, it is a happy habitat for the rare freshwater crabs and water hens. From the Rambai boardwalk, where we stood, the quarry wetlands was about 620 meters. So we decided to hike towards it. The visitors' pavilion held more stories on the Rifle Range Nature Park and also showed us the direction for the quarry wetlands. Just as we approached the quarry wetlands, an information board right at the entrance gave us vital details on the history of the Singapore quarries. At the next turn, we came upon the emerald green waters of the wetland glistening in the morning sunlight. Looking up, we noticed the sheer drop. The Sin Seng Quarry is supposed to be the deepest at 55 meters. Bird watchers were ready with their cameras to catch a glimpse of the wetland birds. You can apparently view several species of kingfishers. But we had already caught a glimpse of a viewing deck at the top of the wetland and made our way there. The road up was rocky and uneven. At one point, we were faced with a dilemma. There were two paths to go up. One was a moderate one with steps cut out into the hills, while the other was a more challenging one with no road but all rocks. We decided to take the challenging route to spice up the hike a bit more. As we tripped and skipped over the rocks, it did not seem as challenging as it was deemed to be, but it was fun and nevertheless to think that we did it the difficult way. The track took us through a meandering, earthy road that led up to the Kolugo deck, as the viewing area was called. The hum of cicadas and the tall looming trees observed us curiously as we walked through them. The Kolugo deck was shaped in the form of a Malayan Kolugo in flight. Now, this is a nocturnal mammal belonging to the lemur family that has an extended membrane stretching from its neck to its feet and encloses its tail. So, when it jumps from one tree to the other, this membrane stretches out like a star-shaped wing. If you are lucky, then you can view this unique animal on the glider's boardwalk. But we were not, so we had to do with reading about it. The Kolugo deck was shaped like the wings of this animal and hence the name. The view from the deck was absolutely stunning. You are literally on top of the nature park and have a 360-degree view of the place. As we stood there looking at the breathtaking view surrounding us, we realized a simple fact of life. To live, it is not enough to simply breathe. You must inhale the richness, the goodness, and the best of things that lie around us. We took a deep breath and started on our way back, feeling more alive than ever before. If you liked our story, do click the subscribe button to receive more such interesting travel tales from a storyteller's backpack. Click the like icon and send us your comments because your thoughts and feedback are very important to us. Till next time, stay healthy and keep traveling.